I'm Ralph from Three Boys Brewery. This is our 11th year at Three Boys Brewery. This is our third brewery site. Started around on Garlands Road, near where the Castles and Sons Brewery is now. Moved over the road there. A few years later, post-earthquake, we moved around here to our final site. Hopefully it's our last site, but you never say never in the brewing industry. Yeah, brewing. I've always been keen on brewing, winemaking as well, and often thought about getting into the winemaking industry years ago. I didn't. I got into science and did sort of hard science for a lot of years. Been working in the UK, loved the beer so much, came back to New Zealand, and after a few more years in science, just decided to get into brewing. Was there a moment? I think probably, I can't distinguish a moment where I said I'd like to become a brewer or start a brewery. I mean, when you're talking 11 years ago, there weren't that many breweries in New Zealand, so it wasn't like on everybody's mind, I guess, at that stage. Certainly I had a couple of beer moments in the UK in particular where I thought, this is just an amazing beer. Why don't we have beers like this in New Zealand? And I think the moment probably came gradually when it came back to New Zealand, and at that stage, as I say, 10 or 15 or so years ago, that drinking beer and thinking, wow, the selection is very, very poor here in New Zealand, and the one way around that was to start brewing our own beer, my own beer, and that just grew from there, realising that you can brew very good beer, and yeah, that was sort of the tipping point, I think. I'm in Tuatara, we're just in the game. Epic about the same time as us. Renaissance about the same time as us. Sprig and Fern. All those sort of ones we consider the old school brewers these days. Harrington's obviously a lot longer than that. They're 25 years, and so they've done a lot of hard yards. But you know, when you compare it with Harrington's, you obviously had Max, which had come and gone in a way, and Monteith, which had come and gone, and yeah, there wasn't that many around. Emerson's, yep, you said that one. And then of course there was Founders and a few of those Nelson ones that have always sort of been in that brew pub way. Kentucky, Golden Bay. Fraction, yeah, I mean you could probably, two hands would probably cover them, when we've probably named the majority of them, Galbraith, things like that. But yeah, they're pretty all old school now compared with, what do we got now, a couple of hundred. And it's been good for us. I mean, good for us in the sense that we established all those years ago, and we've had time to sort of find our feet and find our way forward before the real popularity of brewing in the last 5 years or so had taken off. So we've got a nice place in the market, and we're quite comfortable with our branding and our location and our business in Christchurch. All of those things we're very comfortable with. So it's kind of nice. If you're asking me if I was going to start again tomorrow, I don't know. It's much harder now, you know. We had the luxury of being able to start with a couple of tin pots and build a business out of it. Whereas now I think that sort of luxury is gone. You have to come in boots and all if you're going to make a splash. It's incredible, isn't it? And I mean, beer is, and that's why, you know, as you mentioned, a lot of people can make good beer. You know, there's no doubt about that. It's just one of those products where people often love what you make, and unless you're making some real mistakes, then your beer is going to be pretty good. And there's exceptional beers, of course, and there's poor beers, of course, but largely, you know, if you know what you're doing, you can make good beer. And it comes down to, you know, finding your place in the market comes down to a lot about branding. And man, that's the trickiest thing in the world. Ask any big brewers, even the big giant ones. Branding is just central to selling product. I think the goal is 3 to 5 years. That's a nice time frame because that's sort of what we look out to. Three Boys, I think, are not unique, but increasingly finding our niche is not taking over the world. I don't think we want to take over the world as a brewery and be that aggressive in the market, but we do love Christchurch or Ojitahi, and we do love being in this city, and I think we would really like to be Christchurch's craft brewer. That's the sense. So when people come to Christchurch, they think Three Boys. If they go to Wellington or go to Auckland or go to Timaru or Ashburton or Rotorua or Te Aramutu or wherever, they can get a Three Boys for sure somewhere if they look around, but we want to make this our home territory. So our 3 to 5 year goal is to do that, make this our real stronghold in our home. And the nice thing is with brewing is you can do that. You know, there's a lot of parochialness that goes around brewing. People love products produced in their hometowns. So that's it for us, I think. We're pretty happy with the size as we are and the business structure we have. So that's our goal. Yeah, it's a tricky one. We had the earthquake thing in Christchurch, and you know, most Christchurch people don't talk about that so much these days. It engulfed our life for so long, and it still engulfs our life, but we've got used to it. That was an imposed obstacle, I guess, and we came through that. And we came through that, I think, stronger than we could have hoped for. And that whole thing of local people supporting local products, I think has been more of a boom than it was a burden for Three Boys over that time. So people appreciate that you've stuck around, and people appreciate that you've stuck around, particularly in this side of town, the eastern suburbs of Christchurch. And they like that, you know, they like that, I think, about the likes of us and Harringtons and Castles, that we are working on this side of town and doing good work. So an obstacle imposed, you know, we had to come through that anyway. Any other obstacles, I think, largely as a family-owned business, we always have that finances thing. It's like running a giant household, you know. So when you think you need a new phone, sometimes you just can't afford a new phone. You have to wait till the other one breaks down, or the old shit one craps itself or something like that. And I don't see that as an obstacle. I see that as one of our strengths as a business as well, as we are a family-owned business. And although it probably has restricted our growth over time, it's also made us a very stable and very reliable business at the same time. So there's two sides to that type of thing. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's so fluent at the moment, changing so much. It's incredible, really. I think there'll be a lot of comings and goings. It just happens. It's in the New Zealand psyche that we jump on a bandwagon. Not I'm calling brewing a bandwagon, but we love getting into things, and we get in boots and all, and then we fall out of it. You know, as time goes on and the industry stabilises. It happens with wine. It happens with beer. It happens with kiwi fruit. It happens with whatever. You know, you name it. We always have that pattern of jumping in, and then it's settling down to being a good solid industry. The nice thing we have in New Zealand is we have great products, and we have a tradition of brewing, so it's not new to us. We love beer and we love brewing. We grow fantastic malt, particularly here in Canterbury, and we grow fantastic hops, and so it's always been part of our industry. I think though, I see it because there's so many people in the market. I call it back to the future, where you know, we will have towns that have their brewers, and they will be associated with that town, and that's what we hope to do with Three Boys, associated with Christchurch and Canterbury. And I think that's the way it'll sort of go. We'll have the big boys who will always be all around the place and dominate. You know, we have the buyouts, obviously the big boys of Emerson, Scanhead, etc. But I think it is that. It's back to the future. Let's have a couple of breweries in Christchurch that are Christchurch breweries. The old days of wards and things like that come to mind. And you go to Wellington and you've got a couple of brewers who people associate with that city. You go to Auckland, you've got another 2 or 4 breweries associated with that area. You go to Dunedin, you've got another couple of breweries. And I kind of like that. I like that whole idea that you move out of a region and you drink what's the regional product. And luckily, I think that's past, you know, we're past the idea where it was cool to globalise everything, where you needed Stella on every tap, or if you're in London, you were drinking 4X or what was the other one? The other Aussie beer? Foster's. Foster's, you know, when you're drinking Foster's in London, you know the world's gone wrong. And so that, you know, that it shouldn't happen. You should be able to get a Foster's in London, but it shouldn't dominate every tap. And I think it's nice we're coming back around in full circle. Yeah.